Good morning. This is Judy Green from Raw and Green Wellness Coaching, and I'm here to talk to you about two hormones that you may or may not have heard of. They are hormones that are intricately related to whether we feel hungry or if we feel satiated. So, as you can imagine, they are critical for weight management and have been kind of messed up when we have a lot of body fat. So when we are obese, we are secreting other hormones that kind of mess up the way that the Grehlin and Leptin are received in the brain. And so I'll tell you a little bit about each of them. I have a little cheat sheet here so I don't forget everything. So this is what I'm looking at when I'm looking down. They're considered counter-regulatory hormones, which means when one goes up, the other goes down. So they're not both high at the same time and not both low at the same time. They kind of balance each other. Both of them are produced in other parts of the body, but through different, the same pathway, they end up affecting the hypothalamus in our brain. So they go into the blood, they go through the blood-brain barrier and then affect our hypothalamus. And of course, our hypothalamus is something that regulates our metabolism. So this is really, really important. They are major appetite control. I always like to think of Grehlin as when your tummy grumbles. That helps me remember that Grehlin is the hormone that makes you feel hungry, and the hormone leptin is the one that helps you feel full. So one thing about the human body is that it works really hard to maintain homeostasis, and this is one of the reasons that it's hard to release weight and not gain it back, because the body has a set point where it thinks that you need to be healthy. And when we do things like overeating or eating too much, we actually trigger stretch receptors in our stomach that release leptin to tell our bodies that we are full. But the problem when we do this habitually is that the leptin receptors stop receiving, much the same as the insulin receptors stop receiving the insulin when we overeat sugary foods and we're flooding our body with insulin. So there is leptin resistance in much the same way as we have insulin resistance. So leptin's secreted by fat cells. So if you've got more fat cells, you got more leptin. It is secreted by the stretch receptors in your stomach, from the heart, your placenta, and your muscle. Ghrelin is secreted by the lining of the stomach. So when the stomach is empty and there's no leptin in the system, then ghrelin kicks in to tell us that we're hungry and that we should eat. So a couple of things happen that's really quite interesting that help us to understand how we can biohack these hormones. When you have a lot of fat, you'll have a lot of leptin. So when you have a lot of fat on your body, which can lead to leptin resistance. Fructose leads to leptin resistance. And most of our commercial sugar that's in our commercial products is fructose, high fructose corn syrup. But even in general sugar is half fructose, half sucrose, and that makes our sugar. Half fructose, half glucose makes sucrose, which is our regular sugar. So we're eating a lot of fructose if we're eating a traditional North American diet or a SAD diet, or standard American diet. And so it's very, very important to understand what you're doing to yourself when you're eating all of that sugar. One of the cool things about the ketogenic diet is that you're reducing, you are eating practically no fructose because you have reduced the sugars and the carbs in your diet. So this really helps you heal your leptin resistance. It's just fabulous. Another thing is that ghrelin is inhibited by the human growth hormone. And when do we produce human growth hormone? When we're intermittent fasting. So if you're combining keto with intermittent fasting, you're helping your leptin resistance and you are helping ghrelin be inhibited because you're producing human growth hormone. Human growth hormone does a whole bunch of things as well, but it's really cool how it affects ghrelin. Another interesting fact is that your leptin levels raise during sleep. And so if you get a good night's sleep in bed by 10 o'clock, those first 2 hours are really, really critical. You get the highest release of human growth hormone the 2 hours before bed. You're also releasing leptin, and leptin is telling your body you got lots of food, no worries, don't worry about being hungry, and burn that energy. It's sending that message out to all your mitochondria to work hard and get that metabolism going to burn off all this excess food that you have. So it's really important to get those 2 hours of sleep. So I hope it's a pretty abbreviated version of how Grehlin and leptin work, but I'm hoping that it'll be a nice little introduction to you. I will be doing another video on how the hormones insulin and glucagon work, and those are 2 counter-regulatory hormones as well. So I hope you watch that one too. Judy Green signing off from Raw and Green Wellness Coaching.